Welcome back, everybody, to U.S. Vaquero. Today we'll be talking about the Winchester 1200. This specific one is my father's, technically, and he's the one that wanted a shotgun such as this one. And it's a fairly nice shotgun. This particular one is made in '74. They're made fairly nice. As you can see, this one is a 30-inch barrel, which is crazy long, as you can imagine. I mean, if I could stand back, you can kind of see that, it's a pretty huge barrel that they put on it. The stock is walnut, and it is a fairly nice walnut. It's definitely better than the 1300, and that's the main difference between this one and the 1300. I have read some places that the 1300 is not a semi-automatic, if that makes any sense. So when you shoot this gun, the breech opens up, I want to say up to like right there, without you trying much. And with proper technique, it pretty much opens up all the way, and you cycle a new round. I have heard that the 1300 doesn't do that, but I think it does. I have seen people shoot it, and it is fairly fast, and I believe that it's fast for the same reason this one's fast. Now, this one is crazy fast, as you can hear right there. It has one of the slickest actions on the shotgun. I mean, you have other shotguns that have a slicker action, of course, but this one has one of the slickest actions I've used on a pump. Everything else is a little bit more. It's either a little bit more clunky or more mechanical. The Remington 870, which is what a lot of people would consider one of the best pump actions to actually, go through the motions of pumping the thing. But that's because it's mechanical. This one is a little bit more clicky. I don't know if it comes through on the video, but it is fairly nice, and it does sound fairly slicker. It's way slicker in a way. The main difference between this and an 870, besides the fact that this one kind of opens up halfway, kind of like that. And we are talking compared to an older 870, because the newer 870s are a lot worse in quality. But to the 870 design in general is this little bolt extension. I don't know if I'm pointing in the right direction, but this little bolt extension right there, that it carries the extractor claw, if you can see that. And I don't know what that does for the design, if it makes it so the barrel takes the pressure or whatever it is, but I have seen more shotguns now with that kind of design than the Remington 870, which pretty much has the extractor claw directly on the ball. Another big difference is, if you see behind there, this has what I believe is called an ejector rod instead of an ejector spring like the 870 does. I can't speak for differences between this and the Mossberg 500. I do know the Mossberg 500 also has a square bolt, but I know that it does not have now I might be wrong, but I believe it does not have a bolt extension like this does, that the extractor claw itself stays or is seated on the bolt itself. However, I do believe the Mossberg differentiates itself from this and the Remington 870 in the way that it has two extractor claws in case one fails. This one clearly has one. I had to double check, so I would have scrapped the video just for saying something so blatantly dumb. These do come with wind chokes, and I don't know if you can still get them. The choke I have on this one, I believe, is an improved cylinder, and it's enough for everything that it's used for. It's mainly used as a hunting shotgun and a nightstand shotgun for my dad, who, you know, more likely than not won't have to face anything at night. The receiver is aluminum, and I believe that with the model 1200 is when they began to create the receiver in aluminum. Before this, I believe the model 120, which I believe it was called, was made out of steel. And I believe it took pressure. I believe a bolt carrier design on this one, or the bolt extension. Don't know the right term for that piece. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys probably do. But I believe that was introduced so the pressure could be placed elsewhere. In my theory, at least. It feeds smooth. You won't have much problem with this. It's a reliable pump. It's fairly easy to disassemble. The only challenge you'll have disassembling is this piece right here. This unscrews like an 870. Right, this, if you guys can see it, unscrews like an 870. This right here, you kind of got to get something to dig in there, and it's kind of better to get maybe a wooden stick, or a nylon, a piece of something that's not exactly metal, maybe a bit softer, and it would be a rod, some type of rod, wooden or plastic, or, you know, won't damage the gun, and to kind of get it in there and hammer it a little bit sideways, and that tends to loosen it up. And after that, it comes apart fairly like an 870. The only difference is because of that ejector rod back there. When you pull out the pump and bolt assembly, so the pump handle is connected to the bolt the same way an 870 would be. When you pull that out, the ejector rod does fall, and it is a little bit harder to put back into place, and that does happen. The trigger group is removed by one pin instead of two, making it a little bit simpler than the 870. You know, you kind of take the pin out and work in reverse. It's pretty self-explanatory, and you shouldn't get lost on that part. The barrel is the easiest part to take off, because you don't have to take off this harder piece, which does require some type of rod or some type. You're supposed to use a proper tool to use this, but this gun was purchased used, and we don't necessarily have it, and every time I've gotten to clean it, which has only been about 2 times, 3, it doesn't get or completely taken apart. This piece is not that hard to take apart, but it does require some tool. The barrel doesn't, however. The barrel, you can just unscrew here, and like every other shotgun, it pretty much comes off, and it's starting to come off. And there you go. I kind of babied it out. You can kind of, you know, you don't have to do what I did there. And of course, everything's a bit harder on video, as you would think. But it's not exactly the hardest shotgun to take apart. This is probably the hardest piece, and once you're past that, you can get the bolt out, and the trigger group is taken out like most other shotguns are. with 1 to 2 pins. This one is 1 pin, making it even simpler. But to change out the barrel is actually, or for cleaning, is sufficiently easy, just as easy as the Remington 870. But it's pretty much everything I've had to say. This is only a 2 3/4 12 gauge, so it's not a Magnum. And it does have the what do you call it? The slide release, or whatever you call it over here. See it release the slide. But you really do got to dig in there, so it is a little bit awkward. And the safety is up here. So it's not a tank safety like the Mossberg. And another big reason to get the shotgun, which if you're on the fence and you want like a classic 70s, 80s, 90s shotgun, and you're having a hard time finding a 870 or Mossberg 500, these are a great option, a really great option. But one of the other reasons you should get one of these is actually the stock design. This triangular shape or pointed shape actually makes it so that the receiver digs into the stock the more you shoot it. So the more recoil you give this, the more maybe when you go out there with a recoil pad, of course, because you want your shoulder protected, but you go out there with, and you can get some high recoil or high brass shells, and it'll hold up, at least to my knowledge, and it'll make it a bit stronger because of that design. It won't snap like some firearms tend to do. So if you're looking for a classic American 70s, 80s, 90s shotgun, don't overlook Winchester. These ones that made in USA, these are made in New Haven, Connecticut, USA. Winchester proof steel. It's not bad. It looks like it's always felt like a good gun. It looks like a good gun, and it hasn't let me down in the 2 to 3 years that we've shot and owned this shotgun. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. It is a keeper. It's not something I don't know why anybody would sell these, but they do change hands fairly cheap. I've seen super beat up ones go for like 2 something, and nicer ones go for 4. But they do exchange hands fairly cheap. And if you're having trouble finding a Mossberg or a Remington, an older Remington, this isn't a bad option. And they do have the Defender model. This model in particular has a 5+1. The Defender model has more than that. So you can really get out there, and with the Defender, you have a pretty reliable shotgun. I'm pretty sure the Winchester Defender was contracted to some type of military or police at one point. I'm pretty sure I read something about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But fairly interesting shotgun, really fast. Highly recommend. It's one of those. It feels like a tool from the 70s. Meant to go out to the field and pretty much hammer whatever you want to hit. 2 3/4 is enough for everything that I need to do out there with a shotgun. It never not sufficed. Maybe if you're shooting steel shot, you might want 3 or 3.5. But that's a whole other subject for another day. This is it for this video. You guys have a good one. God bless, and God bless America.